So I'm going to be honest, I forgot about our giants are female, but I do have somebody I want to bring up, and that's this person, Ashley Carmen. Ashley Carmen is a writer for The Verge, and she's very good at just the like. She keeps me abreast of all of the updates and future of social technology and all kinds of things like that. I really appreciate how well like her ability to, I guess, like predict the future. I guess on that point, another person is Kara Swisher, another journalist who's very good at understanding the way that technology and society work together, and I really think that's important in to have a healthy uh, uh, to have, I guess, a healthy growth of technology is to have discussion and have people who are thinking about the impact of that stuff on the world. So, uh, yeah. So let me start my presentation. All right. So this is going to be about NI Package Manager. It's going to be just a kind of a tutorial. I'm going to walk through mostly the scripting side of NI Package Manager. So just a little bit about myself. I used to work at NI until pretty recently. I started out in technical support uh, and working with RF tools, and then I moved to systems engineering, where I worked a lot with in the automotive. And then finally, I moved to IT, where I worked on some configuration tools for I guess, yeah, I guess it's out. So the ECU test system, worked on the configuration tool for that. But that's all internal. It's IT, so it's all internal stuff. And during my time, I built a lot of pipelines and worked on a lot of pipelines, um, built pipelines using Azure and using Jenkins. And yeah, so that's why, I guess, why I'm qualified to speak about this. That being said, I would not consider myself like an expert in NI Package Manager. I am just somebody who has used it enough in the right situations. And then I also built a tutorial because I noticed that a lot of people were coming to me because I had some experience. A lot of people were coming to me and asking me, hey, how do I use this in a build pipeline? So I built a tutorial, which you can show on, you can look at on my GitHub. And I have it linked at the end of this presentation, which I'll share uh, yeah, after the presentation. So yeah, and feel free to ask questions throughout the whole thing. Um, yeah, here's a summary. Feel free to ask questions whenever you have them. If I'm going maybe a little too fast or maybe a little too slow, um, I guess you guys are not going to tell me if I'm going too slow, but tell me if I'm going too fast so that if there's anything that's unclear. So here's a quick summary. Um, I have some of the requirements for using NI Package Manager, and then I'm just going to go through building a simple package. I'm going to use the command line interface, and then I'm going to use NI Package Builder, which is a nifty little tool. And then we're going to install it, and then we're going to use some feeds. Again, I'm going to use some command line interface for that, just for how to create and install a feed and how to update from a feed. Yeah. The requirements are super simple. It's NI Package Manager. So I tried to download LabVIEW from the internet. One of the reasons LabVIEW is not in this tutorial, I tried to download LabVIEW and was unsuccessful because the download was unsuccessful. I'm not really certain exactly why. So yeah, I'm not really certain what was going on there, but I wasn't able to download LabVIEW, and so it's not part of this tutorial. But you don't need it, which is awesome. NI Package Manager, it's kind of very similar to a lot of other package management tools. If you've worked in like Python or with Node, you'll be familiar with things like PIP for Python, and I think it's just Node for or maybe it's just NPM, yeah, for Node. And then there's a couple of other ones. There's like brew and yarn are other two examples of package managers that you can use in a similar way to NI Package Manager, CLI. So I think I'm hoping that's what NI R&D was going for when they built the CLI. Yeah, so it kind of works that way. And then let's just hop into it. So let me share my screen. Oh, I already have that shared. I have to stop my presentation. There we go. So to start out, I'm just going to, I have this folder here, and it has nothing in it. And I just want to create, just to start out, I'm just going to create the payload of what I'm going to build. I'm actually going to pull open, since I myself have not memorized this, I'm going to pull open my tutorial. Oh, so here it is. Right here. I'm just going to pull this up and I'm going to go through it, but I'm going to take this off the screen to make it a little more interesting. All right, so the way I want to start, I want to just create a file, and this is going to be in the name of my package, or the package that I actually want to build. So let's just call it like the tutorial package or something like that. And in this tutorial package, I need a couple of files, and I'm going to show you where you can find this information. So if I am building a file, I can go to the NI package manager help file, and I need a couple of different things. I need the control file, the control folder. I need the data folder, and I need this Debian binary, which is a part of the conformity to the Debian standard. So that one's the simplest. But yeah, the control file basically tells NI Package Manager about all of the, how to actually use the file, what kind of categories it's going to be in, and then the data file contains all the package the package that we actually want to make, and what our payload is going to be. So yeah, that's the basics of it. You could also include an instructions file, which has a couple of more things. You can see that here, but I don't have that. You do that for the XML packages, for XML, I mean to say, and I don't have that as part of the tutorial. So I haven't really explored using that, so I'm not as familiar about when it's necessary. But to start out, that means I need a data folder, and then inside my data folder, I need the root package, or the root folder that I want to place my package in. And what's kind of nice about NI Package Manager is that you don't actually need to put it in. It doesn't need to go in a particular place. It just puts files on your system somewhere, So that's what it's good at doing, and you can actually look up where these package files or these relative paths are in the help document. So I have that. I think I put it in my tutorial, but all right. So I have to actually find this now. I wanted to give a good example of what these packages are, but or where these files are. So, all right. Well, I'm just going to keep it simple for right now, and I'll find that later. But there is a directory, and I'm going to keep mine really simple. I'm going to put mine in on my desktop. And one thing to note that this doesn't put it in the user desktop. This puts it in the public desktop. So I have that right here, like pinned, because I need to access it later because it's different than this desktop. So when I put it in, this is my root of where I'm going to push all my data to. And inside there, I'm going to create another folder. And I'm going to call that my test application. And this could be named whatever it wants at this point. And inside there, I'm going to do just a text document, just to make sure, we're all going to see this. Yeah. All right, so now I have my payload ready to go. Just as simple as that. What you might do if you were using LabVIEW is you would make this, if you're doing a application builder, you might make your build output you might put your build output of the build in this directory, and that way later you can call the application builder via the command line, and it will automatically place it in the right place. Or you can put it wherever you want, and you very often have a staging step in your build pipeline where you might move a build output to a staging area for your packaging stage, and so that would be a good time to move it into this format. So our data is ready, and next what we need is a control document. Let me pull back open this help file. So the next thing we need is a control folder, and inside it the control document. So let me do that. Let me create that. And then let me just create a control file. It is worth noting that this is what you need to do for command line interface usage, but you don't need to do this if you're creating a package through LabVIEW using the application builder. NI or application builder handles all of this. Handles all of this. It creates these files for you. I don't even know if it actually creates these files, but it doesn't require you to build this. You can use their wizard to do it instead, which is convenient. But if you want to use the command line interface and you want to script this, it's a lot better. It's a lot better to give you more control. For instance, in my build pipeline, I would actually script the creation of this control document so I can put in whatever I want. And yeah, somebody wrote the there's a question that's, are you sure symbolic paths can be used in LabVIEW to build packages? I'm not certain. So I guess you're asking, am I sure that it's more helpful or gives you more gives you more control? I am certain about that because you can do things like change the name, change paths, and do all kinds of funky stuff just manually. And you have to edit if you want to do different things in the application builder. You can, there's more than just paths that are available to you when you have the control file. So I'll give you a good example. I'm going to pull open a simple control file right here. So one thing that I can do is there's this, I don't have it here, but there's also a conflict attribute. And I could programmatically create my depends and my conflict based off of the versions of other tools I'm building at the same time. If this is built with a certain version of LabVIEW runtime engine, or it's built with a certain version of my own internal tools, then I can add those as a conflict, or I can add them as a depends. Or if it conflicts with the older version or a different version of something else, So there's a lot of control that you can have, and you can update the version. You don't need to do the automated version. You can have your own versioning system. You can do that through application builder. So I don't know if that's the greatest example. So there's all kinds of fun little things you can play with in the attribute control file attributes, which are you can find them all right here. Yeah, there's a lot of really interesting things. So it provides, recommends, replaces, suggests. Yeah. So I like to build out my control file using when I'm doing this in a build pipeline. I like to build out my control file using scripting as well. It's pretty convenient. All right, so in this one, I'm going to just go through this control file real quick, or at a normal speed. I don't know. Here we have a simple library. That's going to be the name of the package that I'm creating, and the version is 1.0. I'm actually going to change this from infrastructure to application software. This is the most advanced application you guys have ever seen, text file. And the reason I'm doing that is that infrastructure is hidden in NI Package Manager, and it takes a little bit of, it's harder to kind of work with. But I think it's a good location for things like shared tools, shared code. That one way that my team, one of my teams used this was we had a bunch of shared LabVIEW code that we would put into different tools, and we wanted to put a release around those tools so that we can know which version we need to install in order to build our main application. And in the past, we would have just pulled that shared library out of GitHub, out of source control, and put it in the correct place. But the problem is that with that is then we don't know what versioning, we don't have as good of versioning as we might want. And it was harder for us to install it. For instance, if we want to automatically build things, we'd have to, use Git to pull down the right amount and put it in the right location, or the right version, put it in the right location for the build. It's just easier to build a package, have that put it in the right location instead. So, yeah.
So, Michael, are you saying that, this is a replacement for VI Package Manager? We could potentially distribute source code if you try and structure this correctly?
So I think you could. I think there's some things that you might like about VI Package Manager better. For instance, you can install to a specific version in VI Package Manager, and if you want to, if you have one person on your team using LabVIEW 2016, another person using LabVIEW 2018, you have to ensure that it installs in all of those places instead of installing, like it has to install in LabVIEW 2016 or LabVIEW 2020 specifically. You have to tell it to go there. So I don't know if it's the greatest way to distribute source code, but it worked well for us because I was familiar with it already. But yeah, I think that's a big difference there. And it's not really meant for that. It is meant for actual applications and maybe DLLs and stuff like that. Much more so, if I'm correct. I could be completely off about that, but from my understanding, they wanted people to build to make an actual build for this rather than source code. But the way I was thinking about it when I did it was that when you're using a different language and you bring in a package of like, oh, let's say I want to bring in, for instance, in Node, I want to bring in Express, which is a framework for making HTTP requests, or I think that's what it's for. If I want to bring in Express, then I bring in that library. I'm bringing in a library. I'm not bringing compiled code. So that's how I was thinking about it. Is yeah, I guess you could use it in that way. You know, you could use it to bring in source code, and it kind of would work. Oh, and Bill Eisenhower has mentioned that they're working on improving source distribution capabilities. So that's awesome. So yeah, and somebody else, Hans Christian Andersen, is mentioning that it can't recompile LabVIEW code, so it's not great for sharing tools in LabVIEW. It doesn't know about palettes either. Yes, that's very true. Yeah, so if you're going across versions, although we were able to pull in palettes with ours because we had palettes in the actual code that we were putting in. Like we had the menu file, so it actually would show up in our palettes, which is kind of nice. Yeah.
And just to say, you can add, one of the things is in there, add the custom actions. So you can add, they do support in the LabVIEW command line interface the ability to do a mass compile. So you can call into that. The only thing is if there's any errors, like if you have a VI tree VI, that step will fail. There is an idea I will find up and link in the chat about them fixing that for LabVIEW.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point, is that you can also, when you're using, when you have a build pipeline, you're using a scripting software, so you can call into other command lines at the same time, such as the application builder ahead of time, to compile code, or LabVIEW to do a mass compile. And I'll actually come back to that at some point as well.
So we've got a couple of hands up. I mean, so.
Oh shoot.
Mikhail, okay, that's just disappeared now. I don't know if.
Okay, I have some questions, but I can wait for the end, because maybe the answer will come before the end. So
you go for it, and I'll tell you whether I'll talk about it. How about that?
All right. So I was playing a little bit with it recently. So I wanted to use it instead of test and deployment utility. At the beginning, I had a lot of issues, basically, and I think most of them were related with PPLs, I guess, and that because there is a processing during staging, and I needed to disable all of that. So first question is there any way to configure it somewhere to do not this process during staging? Because in my case, I use relative paths in my project, so I don't need, well, I don't know exactly what's done during staging, but I guess there is something related with finding dependencies and replacing paths, stuff like that. So in my case, I don't need that, basically, because in my repository, I try to keep everything relative. So, and it's already checked, and I just want to copy it, right? So is there a way to build package with where I can select ones that do not process it and just build a package?
Yeah, I'm actually not exactly, I guess I'm not familiar with what you're talking about. As far as I can tell, maybe somebody else knows more about this than me, but as far as I can tell, it literally is just moving the files into the package. And then later, when I decompress the package, install the package through NI Package Manager, it will just distribute those files. I think you'll see, like, I'll have an example of that, because the text file, nothing's happening to the text file. So I guess I'm not really, I don't know if
I can show you maybe later, not here, that I had a project with a lot of drivers in PPLs, and
okay.
I needed to explicitly select each of them to not process during staging, because otherwise I was not able to build the package because of some kind of processing during staging, I guess. I don't know exactly what's going on during staging, but that's what I saw.
Right.
So that would be the first thing, and maybe I can also add one question. So about another thing. Is it possible to maybe trigger some action after I build my package? The thing I'm referring to is that I need to keep my packages in C, on the C drive, basically, to have the path as short as possible, because when I put them into my repo folder, it quickly returns me an error that the path is too long. So I was imagining to simply run some kind of action to copy it from C to my repo after building. So is something like this possible with maybe CLI?
So what I've done with something like that is, you know, I'm usually using this in the context of a build pipeline, which has, you know, you'll have steps involved. And so after the build, I'll put in another step that will move the file where I need it, you know. But are you talking about more specifically after you? So you're saying on the build side you want a step, or are you talking about more this on the?
You know, I was using only GUI, you know, so there's this button build solution, right? So, and after it's successfully built, I would simply want to trigger action to copy the C, the locate, you know, from the location on the C drive to my repo to have it stored there.
Yeah. So with that, I'm not as familiar with how you might script that. But I would say if you have a process for build, that's a really good example. That's a really good time to think about Jenkins or think about Asdo. Asdo is expensive and Jenkins is free, so it's you know. Well, I don't know if Jenkins is free. Now I'm thinking about it. I use somebody else's Jenkins. I think it's free, but I'm not exactly certain. So yeah, you might as that is where I would normally go to is using a build pipeline at that point. That's the main value of it, is that, hey, I want to automate a bunch of steps related to you know, my build, my application build process, and so that's what they're for, and that would probably help you out a lot in that regard. As for the first question, I don't think I know the answer to that. And I don't know if I'd be able to help you with that, since it hasn't really come up with for me. So yeah, I think it'd probably be better to, I guess, either talk to other people who've done it, or talk to NI support.
Okay. Because in the documentation, I won't find more details about the process of staging. What actions are done there, actually, right? I was looking for that. I don't know what's there, to be honest. Do you know, maybe?
Michael, I know the package manager product owner, so I can put you in touch with him. I mean, so.
All right, great.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna move on and get further along in this thing, because we have Phil is back, and I don't know how long I've been presenting. I guess that's in my PowerPoint. No,
so you've got 15 minutes, so if that's good. Yeah.
I can get through this in 15 minutes. We're gonna do this. All right. So I've created my control file, and I have that in my tutorial package. I want to make sure, did it not save? Okay, it did. Okay. So I have my control file in this this file, this folder, my data, which once again is this test application folder with this hello world text, and it's going to be installed on my desktop, on my public desktop. And then finally, I need that Debian binary file. So it just looks like this. And again, this is all information that is in the help folder, the help document. So it's in this assembling a relative file path. Yeah, our relative file package. I think you can also find it in the same. I have yet to really understand the differences between the relative file package and the file package, but that's just me. So here's the Debian binary 2.0, and then we're going to save the file and omit the extension, which we have done. So we've actually have our whole package up and running. And what's kind of nice about this is that you can make a lot of this, or you can make pretty much all of it with just using like standard make directory, output, or like, yeah, I think it's like standard out to write your text document. You can do all of this stuff through scripting, which is pretty convenient when you're thinking about putting this as a build pipeline. All right. So now the next thing I'm going to do is open up PowerShell. You can do command line if you want. I like PowerShell. Make sure you're doing it as an administrator because I like PowerShell because it shows colors for different things, which is very convenient. So an important part of this is that you need to add NI Package Manager to your global path. You don't necessarily need to do this. You can open PowerShell in the folder that contains NI Package Manager. But here, here's what you need. So this is the where it is located, and you want to add this to your path so that way you can just use the command, which is NI package. NI package builder does have a CLI. Oh, interesting. Okay, I didn't know that. NI package builder does have a CLI, so you can call if you have a GUI made project or for NI package builder, then you can call those packages through CLI, which is convenient. So yeah, the NI package is the command for NI package manager, and this is the help. It has a bunch of different commands. What we're going to use right now is just this. Where is it? NI package, and then it's pack, creates or packs a package. So we're going to look up the help on that just to make sure that we got it right. And the way that this one works is NI package pack, and then we're going to put in our options. We're going to put in our source directory, and then we're going to put in our destination directory, where we want the output of this thing to be. So I'm going to create a folder in this called output. And then we're going to pull this. Let's see, I'll make this a little bit smaller. I'm actually a Mac user, so I'm used to all these small windows. I know that's kind of sacrilege, but whatever. All right, so NI package pack, and then we're going to put our options. In this case, I don't actually want any of these options. It's just verbose and disable validations. So I'm just going to skip over that and put my my source directory, which is right here. And I'm going to put my output directory of where I want this package to go. And if you don't put an output directory, it puts or a destination directory, it will just put it in the directory that contains the current working directory. So we'll put this on system32, which I don't want. So yeah. Then I pack. Oh, I got something wrong. Let's see. Missing an attribute, colon. Okay, so my control file has a problem in it. I'm going to go in and make sure that's correct. It's probably because of this. Description, for the description to be a two-liner, I need to indent it. And we're going to do that again. And files, plugin value files. All right, let me check this because I think I probably just absentmindedly put something in. Yeah, it's file. Probably just pushed S by accident at some point when I was trying to save or something. All right, so it built successfully. And now if I check the output, you guys can see that I have this package right here. And when I double click it, and package manager shows up, you guys can't see it because it's on the other screen. And you'll notice that it's wants me to install all of these items. And that's because I have in my control file that this depends on the LabVIEW runtime engine, which is really great if you want to be able to install different packages. You can actually put your own applications as depends. You just have to make sure that they're already in a feed so that package manager knows that they exist. So I'm actually going to get rid of this because I don't actually need LabVIEW runtime to do this. And I'm going to cancel this. I'm going to update my version. And I'm going to rerun NIPkg pack. And now I will have a next version, the 1.001. I'm going to run that instead. And let me bring this over. And now it just wants me to install a simple library. So when I do that, my package manager, you guys will see my simple library. I don't have my feeds anymore. Okay, and here it is. It's under application software. It's maintained by me, Michael Bilyk. And yeah, that's what it does. I'm going to, since I only have a little bit more time, I want to get to feeds. The package builder GUI is pretty intuitive. And you guys can also follow this portion of my tutorial in order to look at that. And you'll be able to get through it pretty easily for something very basic, which is what I do in the tutorial. So I'm going to move on to feeds a little bit because I think they're pretty powerful and pretty cool. The basic idea behind feeds, if I look at my feeds here, I forgot to remove this, but the idea here is that if I have a bunch of packages, or if I have a repository of packages, then I can point package manager to that repository, and it will add those packages to this package tab. But what's more powerful is that in addition to doing that, I can actually just call those packages by name and install them by name, rather than having to download the package offline. And I'll show you an example of what I mean with this. So what I need to do is I need to create a feed. So let me, first what I want to do is I want to create two folders. The first folder is going to be my feed source. And then the second folder is going to be the folder that I actually have the feed, that is the feed name. So let me do this simple library feed. And these are my two folders. I'm going to put the output, which is going to contain my packages. Typically, you might put multiple packages in here. This is a very basic idea of the feed. This is going to be where all my packages that I want in my feed, they're all going to reside in this feed source. And then whenever I build a feed, whenever I update the feed, that output, that feed output, is going to be in this simple library feed folder. So the next thing I need to do is, this is where I use package help again, and we're going to use this feed create command. So let me just pull open the help for that. And oh, I forgot to cover installing with CLI. Let me just do that real quick. Man, I forgot to cover something. Okay, I'm gonna show you guys how this feed works, and then I'm gonna jump back and show you guys how to install. It's very simple, but there's one really tricky bit that's pretty important. So let me start with showing you how to make this feed. First off, it looks like NI package feed create. Then I can show my options, and then I use the feed directory, and this is this feed source. Sorry, the feed directory is this simple library feed. This is where the feed will be created. And then the packages directory is where I want, where I'm going to store all these packages for this feed. So what I need to do is I need to type in NI package create, or I think, yeah, it's feed create, but I think you can use create feed instead. And then I need my output directory. I'm going to need quotations for that. This is another reason why I like PowerShell, is because you can use your cursor. It's pretty nifty if you think about it, using a computer. And then I have my feed source. And I think this can actually be a list of directories as well, if you want it to be, which is convenient if you have a bunch of packages in a bunch of different places. So let's see, my feed create looks like it created the feed, which is great. And you can see that in this simple library feed. We can actually add this through the CLI as well, which is very convenient if you want to update a feed. So let me go back just to look at the help, just to make sure. And so we have this feed add, and this current configuration is actually talking about, in NI Package Manager, this is the equivalent of going to this feeds setting and clicking add. I'm actually going to remove this one, even though it doesn't have the name. So I could add the feed by hand like this. I could browse to the right location, which will be on this simple library feed, and I just open this. I guess I need to click on that, and it will automatically name it. I could add it that way, but instead we're going to add it through the command line. So we're going to do NI package feed add. I need to put help in there. And for that, I only need two basic things. I don't actually need the name. I just find the name to be helpful because it creates a really weird name otherwise. And then I need the URI, which is the link that we're looking for. So that would be NI package feed add, and then the we're going to do the name. Actually, I think it's this. Name equals, and then we're going to do whatever we wanted to. So simple library feed, and then the location of this, which is here. Actually, I believe I don't want this, so could be wrong about that. Let me see. I'm going to do this too because it looks nicer. There we go. And now, just to show that it worked, if I go to my packages, let me remove this real quick and reload NI Package Manager. I go to packages, I can find my library is right here in this packages, but it's not installed. So if you want Package Manager to be aware of what packages you have, you need to install a feed. That's pretty much how it works. And these are very powerful for many other things. This is a very basic idea of what feeds are for, but hopefully shed some light on for somebody here. And what's really cool about this is that I can do NI package, install. I think that's the right one. I just want to make sure. Install, and then I can actually just do my simple library because it's now part of my part of NI Package Manager. It's aware that this exists, and I don't need any extra file names or anything, and that's all built in. And then this is that tricky thing I was talking about. You notice it's saying, hey, it's installing one package, but it's never actually finishing, and that's because I have some EULAs to agree to and some options to pick, but it doesn't show me those things. So what I'm going to do instead, whenever I install, if I through the CLI, is I need to make sure I put in the option to accept the EULA, and then I want to put this -y to make sure I'm responding yes to all the prompts. Let's see. I probably have done the opposite of what I need. Okay, accept EULAs. And then it installed my library there. How am I doing on time?
How much more time do you need?
I'd say I'm done, but I'm available for questions. So I feel like I have a good chunk right now. But I have a couple of other things I could show.
Yeah. I mean, so we're going into a break anyway. So we'll resume at 3 p.m. BST. That's 9 Central. So yeah, you could take a couple of minutes. Yeah, no problem. If there are any questions, please post on the forum or on the chat window, or feel free to put your hand up.
I want to say one important thing is that if you're doing this using LabVIEW CLI, or if you're using Package Manager CLI or Application Builder or anything for continuous integration or continuous build pipeline, you're gonna probably at some point run into an error with LabVIEW where you can't talk to, like, the automation server doesn't wake up or connect in time. And then you're going to look online and you're going to find out a couple of different solutions. And one of those solutions is to increase the timeout. I don't really like that way. It doesn't always work. What I always do is just put in a line to open up LabVIEW at the path that I want to open up LabVIEW. And I just do that the same way that you might do it with any application. I'm literally calling the LabVIEW exe from the command line. And it's always worked for me. So I recommend that way. That's my plug for my solution to that. But it's not the greatest. I just wish they would, there'd be some order of operations thing that would get fixed there. But yeah. And I'm open for questions. And feel free to post them on the forum, and I'll try to look out for them as well.
Yeah, I mean, just to summarize, I mean, so all of these can be done using an API. I mean, there's a LabVIEW API, and also using the command line. Using the user interface. But the thing is, I mean, this is powerful because one, it shows you the inner workings of things, and the second is to, as you say, to automate it into a CI flow, which means that then once you push your code, it then updates the feed, and then it's available to other users automatically than you having to do this every single time. So
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty useful for me, definitely.
I also think that when you're unfamiliar with with the package manager, it feels a little more intimidating and a little more complicated, and it's pretty. I think R&D has done a pretty good job. This thing works really well, and it works the way you would expect it, which is really great.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for having me, by the way. Appreciate it. It's a
All
lot of
right.
fun.
Thank you so very much. Thank you.